Greetings, everyone. This is Payman Lorenzo, your host of the Leaders Without podcast. Today, I have a very special episode. I got connected to PaIge last weekend when one of my good friends and previous guest on the podcast, Anais, hosted an event for burn survivors, and one of the speakers there was the person we're going to be talking to today, PaIge. PaIge is very powerful story of how she overcame very traumatic burns, and yeah, she's going to be sharing her story here on the podcast today with us. So welcome to the show here today, PaIge.
Thanks for having me on, Payman. Great to be here.
Pleasure's all mine. So as I said just before going live, we're going to obviously talk about your story and what you went through, but first and foremost, I'd like to ask you a series of rapid fire questions to get to further know you as a person, a human being. Ready?
Sure.
All right. So for people who don't know you, tell us, who's PaIge as a person and as a human being?
I'm a horse enthusiast and horseback riding, and also a dance enthusiast, although I've been a bit less active in dance so much as somatic movement repatterning since my pulmonary embolism and anoxic brain injury in 2016.
Okay.
And that's where my area of interest and expertise now in entrepreneurship is. And my big question for that is, what's my most direct path to service?
Beautiful. Love that. Now, tell us, what makes you happy as a person?
Being of service and sharing my knowledge that I've gained over my lifetime, and things like travel and a good story, like a good podcast interview, and high frequency music, and also cats and dogs, in addition to horses, and being with friends and family and enjoying good food in fabulous places.
Beautiful. We're going to explore all of that. Now, tell us, what makes you smile?
All of the previously listed things, and well, on energy meditations, when the frequencies of joy come in, for one thing, and seeing funny videos like animals doing cute silly things, and being around the people in my life that I love.
Awesome. Now, let's take the happiness factor a couple of notches higher. What makes your heart come alive? What makes your soul be on fire in a good, positive way?
It was things like singing in high school and college.
Wow.
And yeah, I also was an avid fan of acting on stage. And I do also still enjoy the idea of that. And I've also liked the idea of film acting. That would be fun. And exploring possibilities of a lot of possibilities of being, and things of that nature, and being in nature.
Beautiful. Love that. Now, on the other side of the spectrum, what makes you sad and angry?
Seeing others not getting the medical care and advice they need, and when people are under resourced in general. And it's really disappointing to me that the medical industry has gotten to the state that it is, and people need a lot more options than are provided for them.
Beautiful. Wonderful. I agree with you. Now, what scares you?
The way things seem in the world, for sure, and people in power who don't seem to care.
Absolutely. I'm with you on that. Absolutely. Now, what would you say is your number one personal superpower?
My resilience and courage.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Now, do you enjoy traveling?
Yeah. And in fact, on Monday, my husband and I are going to San Diego for a conference of my Thought Leader Academy group called Write and Grow Rich.
Wow, beautiful. That's awesome. That's awesome. What was your very first trip that you took?
Well, me personally, I've been to Colorado when I was 3, which I don't remember, and, and then after that, various trips to Wisconsin, and then my first big international trip was when I was 16, and my family got to go to England for a week and France for a week after that,
Wow.
and I enjoyed a nice horseback hack in the countryside in England.
Wow, amazing. Wow, beautiful trip. Now, let me take you down a different type of traveling, down memory line. Go back to when you were a young girl growing up. You know, when we're kids, people around us, friends, family, teachers, relatives always ask us, so, Paige, what do you want to become when you grow up? What was your answer as a small girl to that question?
Something with art or possibly horses. By the time I
Oh,
was 13, I was interested enough in English style horseback riding, and then I got really interested in taking lessons. And actually, that it was at that point when I switched from ballet classes to horseback riding lessons. By the time I was 14, and I thought I wanted to be a horse trainer when I grew up. From that point,
beautiful. Beautiful. Wow. Now, growing up, what was your relationship with school? Did you love school or hate school?
it was okay. Up until high school, I had a Montessori and multiple intelligences education, and that was much better than your standard public school offerings.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Wow.
And my mom was a teacher, and she taught Montessori also
Oh,
in
wow.
pre-K and kindergarten primarily.
Mm-hmm. So, when going through school, what was your favorite subject?
I uh, English was I was good at that, and I got better at writing in high school, like writing analytical essays about books and also creative writing, which I continued in college. And all the arts classes, I was good at singing, so I did chorus in high school, and
Wow.
also all the art classes and theater.
Wow. Beautiful. And was there any topic, any subject in school that you did not like at all?
Math, except for geometry and probability statistics, like the algebra and the chemistry, were my
Mhm.
nemesis in school.
Yes, I'm with you. I didn't like math at all neither. Now, what was your very first job?
In college, work study, and that my first work study job in college was feeding horses at the barns at
Mhm.
William Woods University, where I started in the equestrian program. Although I only did feeding for one semester, since that actually was a whole lot of mess and hay and things like that.
Okay, okay. Now, let's move forward from the time that you left school to now. How would you describe your path? Would you say as soon as you get into one lane, it was pretty much straightforward, smooth sailing? Or was it more like a turns and twists, a roller coaster, like a roller coaster?
Yeah, I went all over the place. In human design terms, I'm a
Mhm.
generator, and my profile is one of experimentation. So that happened with employment a lot. I went from part-time job to part-time job. Most of it was retail, and none of it particularly fulfilling, actually. And that was part of the struggle of discovering my authenticity. And I ended up in well, the full-time job that I had, my first and only full-time job, was at doing clerical work at a law firm, a collections attorney, ironically in the medical billing department.
Wow. Mm. We'll come back to that in a moment because I can see a link between that and what will happen later on. So we'll
Yeah.
do that. All right.
Mhm.
Yes, you're reading my mind. I know. I know. All right. Now, let's talk about the sorry, there's a saying that says, I'm sure you heard it, that says, change your story, change your life. And by story, I
Mm-hmm.
mean what we tell ourselves inside our head all day long. So when you, Paige, had to change your story at your lowest point in life, how did you change your story to change your life? Was it through the help of friends, families, relative, mentors, books? Tell us the process that you used to change your story in order to change your life.
That actually, I think, really came in after the injury.
Okay.
And yeah, so it was a long process of recovery. And what happened in that was that I experienced pulmonary embolism, and that was blood clots in my lungs, and it cut off the oxygen to my brain. So that was the anoxic brain injury. And yeah, so it's been a long 6 years since that. And I've learned a lot. And then
Sure.
changing my story was, well, it was helped a lot by how I changed my nutrition and was able to go off of the anti-anxiety medications that caused a lot of what was going on. And
Mhm.
so that and neurofeedback really helped clear my mind. And it was a lot of hindsight in showing me the areas of my life that were out of alignment and how to realign things, especially energetically.
Yes, I can imagine. Now, tell us tell us more about the accident you had. How did it happen? When was that? Tell us the story.
Less than optimal nutrition and antibiotics use in high school. And again, when I had my wisdom teeth taken out in 2005, were contributing factors to microbiome disruption. And that depleted a lot of the neurotransmitter production. So that was off kilter. And then I started taking the anti-anxiety medications on the somewhat, I'll just say, skewed advice of my family practitioner doctor at the time in allopathic medicine. And of course, what would have helped me is if the genetic testing at least had been available then to show the possible interactions. And also, nutritional psychiatry would have helped me get off of those a lot sooner if I had to take them at all. And it was a 12-year roller coaster of dosage changes and uh, emotional ups and plateaus, and things just weren't going so well after a while. And by 2015, 2016, I also had been taking benzodiazepines, and that was one of the first prescriptions I was on, and there was no limit put on that. So I was taking those for longer than a month, and even a month might have been too much. So I had dependency issues with those. And yeah, actually that's a whole thing in itself. And so that all was going on, and that caused the blood clots in my lungs, the long-term use of those. And yeah, when it happened, I was at the office in the mailroom, thankfully with coworkers, and I had just enough time to call my now husband, and I blacked out. My care
Oh,
team at the University Hospital said they'd never seen a cardiac case come off assisted breathing in less than 24 hours, though, which attests to my resilience.
wow. So then, and then you ended up in. How long were you in the hospital for that?
5 weeks total between the university hospital and the rehab facility.
Hmm. So you
And
had.
it was at the rehab hospital when I realized that I couldn't read. And since I had been such a strong reader before and a book enthusiast, and I could read fairly quickly. And that all changed with the areas of my brain that were damaged by the anoxia. So it took about 6 to 8 months to really get a better grasp on reading again.
Wow.
And I at first didn't think I needed physical therapy much, but then after a while, it was, about a week after the rehab hospital and 6 weeks after my injury. I'm thinking this happened because the the PTs aren't trained to look for underlying developmental patterns that could have been disrupted. So my left ankle and calf all swelled up really bad and started to spasm. And that went on nearly 24/7 for about 6 months. So I've had to relearn to walk also.
Wow. And then, so when you're going through that, what's going on in your mind?
Like at the time when I was in the middle of it, I had no idea about all the factors going on that I've learned since. And it also took a while to go a step beyond traditional neurology and find functional neurology, and that addresses the underlying patterns, and then somatic work addresses the developmental patterns. And I've found those all more or less on my own. The neurofeedback was a recommendation from an outpatient rehab center, and also therapeutic horseback riding was too. And I've brought therapeutic horseback riding to my current brain injury support group, where I learned about it at the first one I went to. And so the therapeutic horseback riding instructor has been a guest speaker at my current brain injury support group, as has my functional neurologist. And I found functional neurology through another online brain health event. And so I got the idea that that was what I wanted to use my disability back pay for, so I did. And also generally changing my nutrition, that has helped me stay mentally and emotionally focused and in a good place.
So what kind of changes in your nutrition did you make? What kind of food did you stop having and instead replacing them by what kind of other foods?
Well, like in high school, it was things like snack cakes and sweet tea with high fructose corn syrup. And so I definitely cut back on that and started doing more of my own cooking since I've had time since my injury with no outside job to go to. And so I've done more recipe research and coming up with creative combinations of soups and salads with whole plant-based foods. And that's helped a lot.
Yes, beautiful. Beautiful. And then, so when that happened, I'm sure it must have completely changed your life.
Yeah.
What kind of effect did it have on your life, on your day-to-day life? Were you able to function after you came back from the hospital? After you spent a few months in the hospital, once you came back home, were you able to function properly, or you were not able to function properly? You had to have someone by your side to help you do even something as simple as getting up, going to the bathroom, going to have food, dinner, and all that. Were you able to
I
walk?
was mostly independent, although
Okay.
I built up to that over the first year
Mm,
in recovery, and I actually moved back to Northern Illinois to be with my parents for a year so my mom could keep an eye on me during the day and help out with things.
mm,
And also she and now my husband does the driving for me for appointments and everything else. So
mm,
yeah, I gradually increased my mobility and ability to do things like laundry and cooking.
mhm. Wow. So
Yeah,
before,
I know I'm definitely one of the more high functioning brain injury survivors.
I can imagine. What was the trajectory of your life prior to this accident? What were you working towards? Were you working towards a professional career or going to school, or what were you
Well,
doing?
I got my bachelor's degree before all of that,
Mm,
and I was, I guess, looking for just a place to land employment wise and hoping that something I found would be fulfilling. And I was, I guess, planning on keeping the job at the law firm for a while at least, though
mhm.
by if I had continued by 2020, that would have been out the window anyway.
Yes.
And yeah, so I, well, still being able to drive. I could have done whatever I wanted to
Mm-hmm.
conceivably, although I didn't know the options available that would pay well, and also that I wouldn't have to drive too far for.
Mm-hmm. So, are there any things, any activities, any thing that we take for granted that you were able to do before, but now you're not able to do as a result of your accident?
Yeah, driving.
Okay.
And I was also involved with a local theater company in the area where my jobs were. And well, it was okay initially, but then it got to be a lot and exhausting, plus a 30-minute drive home after about 3 4 hours of rehearsal.
And why are you not able to drive? Is it because of you're not able to focus? Is it affecting your
Yeah,
brain, your
my
eyes?
vision.
Oh, your vision.
Yeah, yeah, and my eye motor coordination to an extent.
Mm, okay. Wow. And then now,
Then I just took that and just opted to take my career online and be an entrepreneur in the online space and connect to others with the whole person focused resources I found that helped me.
tell us more about the impact you're having in the world and the work you're doing now, the business you're doing now.
Yeah, it's a new challenge for me, certainly. And in addition, just tuning out all the excess noise from the
Mm-hmm.
entrepreneurial experts and really discerning what it is that will help me and move my business forward.
Mm-hmm. What is your ideal client for your business?
Someone who is maybe an established entrepreneur caring for a brain injury survivor or who has their own brain health concerns, and someone who I might overhear in conversation or get into conversation with who has tried traditional therapies and they haven't found much success. Like I've recommended my functional neurologist to a church member whose wife has been having issues and possibly a stroke.
Wow.
And I also connected my support group facilitator and somatic practitioner with my functional neurologist. And
Okay.
yeah, they've seen good results.
Speaking of that, tell us, share with us an example of the most remarkable transformation you've seen from one of your clients so far.
My somatic practitioner, in the fact that she now has a better understanding of around the issues with her vision after her concussion brain injury.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Wow, this is powerful. Now, how has your life changed as a result of that?
I have a much greater awareness of all my body systems and my energy system and what my path is and my true purpose on an
Wow.
emotional level also. And things like human design and energy medicine institute have brought that into perspective for me. And also
Totally.
Anais's work.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Big.
And I know that my purpose now on a spiritual level is to bring divine ideas and inspiration and anchor them into the physical plane and to hear what is unspoken and plan with impeccable precision
Mm-hmm.
and share through uh, enriching storytelling.
Powerful. Beautiful. You know, when we look at things from a spiritual perspective, everything that happens to us happens for a reason, not to punish us, but to teach us a lesson, to make us become a better person, to give us more awareness. Looking at what happened to you from a spiritual perspective, What was a lesson for you to learn? What was what happened to you was trying to teach you?
That I can think creatively outside the box and I don't have to follow the crowd
Hmm.
like everyone else. I mean, I did get the education, but I can do more with
Sure.
my life after that.
Totally. Wow. This is a powerful, but a very powerful and touching experience. Have you shared your experience in other podcasts or even on a book before?
Yeah, and I'm working on a prescriptive memoir featuring interviews with a lot of the practitioners who have helped me.
Beautiful, beautiful. When is that going to be launched?
Would be nice if I could make it next March.
Oh wow! Keep me posted. Once the book is live, I would be very happy to have you back on the podcast to talk about it. And any way, shape, or form I can help you promote it, I would be very happy to do so.
Yeah, thank you.
Very welcome. Let me know, and I'll definitely bring you back. Wow, because this is
Mhm.
really a powerful story that you know people need to know about it because your story is powerful for a reason, and that is to inspire and to empower others to make them understand that hey, don't take what you have for granted and be
One niche I've identified is accessibility travel, blogging, and vlogging, like
yes.
with the places that have good accessibility options.
Mhm. Yes, absolutely. And also I would recommend, I don't know if you already have it, but you need to start your own podcast and share your story and invite other people that are going through similar, painful challenges like you and other people to share their stories because this is a powerful, powerful, powerful message that needs to be shared and spread far and wide.
That's an interesting idea to play with. Yeah.
Well, whenever you're ready for podcasting, let me know because I have a program that teaches people how to launch their podcast. And when you're ready, let me know. I run a class every month for 3 weeks. Next class actually starts this coming Monday. So let me know when you're ready. I'd be honored to have you in the class and help you launch your podcast.
And your audience can contact me at PaIge@gmail.com. And I can also send
Absolutely.
you my social media and booking links for the show notes.
Yes, please send it to us. And just before finishing, I'd like to ask you a final series of rapid fire questions on advices. Ready?
Mhm.
What's the best piece of advice you ever received so far?
To follow my joy and keep going.
Beautiful. What's the worst piece of advice you've received so far?
To keep trying the medications and see what happens.
Yeah, see what happens. It's not their body, it's your body. Yes, absolutely. Wow. Now, if you can imagine that you were blessed with a time machine, if you can go back in time and sit face to face with an 18-year-old PaIge, knowing all that you know now, what would be the number one lesson or advice you would give to her?
Watch out for what you're eating.
Yes, 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 yes. Now, I know you don't have your podcast yet, but imagine you had your podcast and today you're interviewing the most special person in your life, which is yourself. What's the first question that you want to ask yourself?
What have you learned from your best experience ever?
And in a short, what would be your answer?
That I can do really good things in the world with what I love doing.
Beautiful. Fantastic. And the last question I want to ask you, that's my favorite question to ask. What is the smallest thing you've done in your life that has had the greatest positive impact in both your life and business? For example, for me, it's been starting my podcast. What about you, PaIge?
being on podcasts and helping Anais with the event.
Beautiful. Absolutely. That's amazing. Wow. Listen, Paige, your story, I've been blessed to talk with almost 200 people on my podcast, all of them having powerful, powerful stories, but your podcast is right up there in the top 5 of the most powerful stories, most goosebump inducing stories that really inspire people. I'm really grateful for you for coming and sharing your story. Thank you for that. Thank you for your time. I
And
salute
thank
you.
you for having me on again, Payman.
Pleasure's all mine. So I salute you. You're a true leader with a heart. Stay safe, stay awesome. Keep shining your light, keep blessing the world with your presence. Have a wonderful weekend and have a wonderful trip next week.
Thank you.
Very welcome. Take care. Bye bye.